Welcome students, this is the Professor Travel welcoming you to our day 6 of the Baltic's cruise. This is the day we stopped into St. Petersburg, Russia. This was a 2-day excursion which covers a variety of different places, one of which will be starting with the Hermitage Museum. Along the canalways of St. Petersburg, you can see the Hermitage, which is a variety of different buildings housing history and artwork, sculptures, and a variety of different things. We got up really early in order to be able to get to the front of the line in this specific tour. Before entering the museum, we came across sculptures and just a variety of beautiful sights in St. Petersburg. The sculptures and the fountains in the area are absolutely breathtaking. The one thing you have to be careful of when you're out in public, though, and this is according to our tour guide, is be careful to watch your valuables. There are a lot of pickpockets in the area, and make sure you're always with the group. Also, another helpful hint, do your own picture taking. If someone asks you to take a picture of them using another camera or their own phone, kindly refuse. It could be a trick in order to help make sure you pay for someone else's broken camera. On the way to the Hermitage, again, we saw a beautiful restaurant in the shape of a galleon. Unlike most of the other locations in Europe, we saw very little graffiti in St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg is very well manicured, run primarily by the police, but also run by mafia forces as well. Hate to say this, but I mean, they definitely do a good job in keeping the area as clean for the visitors as they possibly can. Just like we saw in Tallinn, Estonia, the outside of the Hermitage was beautifully decorated in a colorful fashion, very inviting and just gorgeous. The wide open entrances are inviting, and again, like the tour guide said, remain in your group at all times, do not wander off. Even the ceilings were arched with the same color as the outside of the buildings. Entering the Hermitage, we were surprised by the opulence of what appeared to be one of the finest museums I have ever seen. The sculptures and gold were immaculate everywhere you looked. With so many artwork pieces, it was like going to the Louvre. You really can't decide on what to look at. So what our tour guide did was she actually got in line to make sure that we were the very first group into the Hermitage Museum. By doing this, there were no other tour groups in front of us, and it gave us the ability to kind of move at our own pace, even though we were at a somewhat brisk pace through the museum. The walls, the columns, the ceilings, all adorned in beautiful colors and arrangements. You could get up close and personal with the artwork. It was just stunning. I was actually pretty surprised after the time of the communist regime, because I thought that a lot of these artworks would have been sold off in favor of giving money back to the people and distributing that evenly. However, this was built still as a museum because it is by the people and for the people of Russia. Again, the Hermitage is still a place that was built up by Peter the Great, just an extraordinary display of opulence. From priceless crystal and gold sculptures, to chandeliers of crystal, to marble hallways with priceless paintings, to Peter the Great's throne room, to intricate stained glass. This place had everything you could possibly want in the way of artwork for just about every taste. I could go on for days about the murals on the floors, to the agate and marble columns, to the malachite vases. It was spectacular. Every door adorned in just the greatest and most beautiful of artwork. Again, on display, religious iconry for those who are interested. The artwork stunning and opulent. From paintings from the masters, to the amazing intricacies of gold work on doorways, to sculptures and glass doorways, it was spectacular. Just going through one of the 6 museums that were on display at the Hermitage was an exhausting process, but looking up, you can see why it was just all worth it. We continue to be motivated with each new room showing us a vast fortune of wealth and artwork. Each new door leading to treasures that you've only seen in movies. With displays both old and new, such as this sculpture of Zeus, to actual mummies on display from Egypt. This leg of the trip was definitely worth the time and the effort. We then jumped on the bus to one of my favorite locations in all of St. Petersburg, the Church of the Resurrection, also known as the Church of the Spilled Blood. This spectacular location got its name because of a 17th century Tsar that was mortally wounded during a bomb blast that took his life. While the Tsar wasn't killed during the bomb blast, he was mortally wounded and did eventually die on the spot where this church was to be resurrected. A lot of people confuse this with St. Basil's Cathedral located in Moscow. And it's understandable why, because of the onion domes and the various different sculptures on the outside and the colorful reliefs. But make no mistake about it, this is much smaller than that. And while it is smaller, it does have a unique charm to it and a distinctiveness all its own. With the reliefs on the outside of gold and different types of enamels, to the beautiful entryway beckoning all the worshipers to come and follow. It's an amazing sight if you have never had the opportunity to see it. I never even heard of it until I finally came upon it while we were on our trip to St. Petersburg. We finally made our way to the inside of the church, and it was even more stunning than the outside. The thing that makes the inside of the church even more spectacular than the outside is that you have to realize that in this cold climate of Russia, they really haven't the resources to preserve things like tapestries or paintings. So instead, all the artwork done from floor to ceiling is all done with mosaic tiles. Every inch of this place was done up in some of the most beautiful reliefs I think I've ever seen. When you look at the people compared to the environment, it makes you really be in awe of how just incredible this location is. The chandelier are more sturdy than something like a crystal chandelier would be. They're done up in silver. The walls and the columns have all different types of mosaic displaying information from the Bible going all the way up to the ceiling. As they move up, displays curve and go into the archways, telling a story from one of the New Testament reliefs. The intricacies of every detail you see are just done with such loving precision. It's spectacular. I think that probably this was my favorite place in all of St. Petersburg, although there is a lot to see, and the Hermitage, as I said, is fantastic as well. While the name is not the most inviting, the Church of the Spilled Blood is definitely a location that I would highly recommend to anyone who goes to visit St. Petersburg. As we came out of the back end of the church, we were really stunned to notice a spontaneous kayak run that was in the nearby canal. It was loud and it was very interesting. Across the park from the church was another smaller church, again with the colorful reliefs we were used to seeing from not only Tallinn, Estonia, but the St. Petersburg motif. The beautiful flowers in the garden were in bloom, and we were really impressed with just how lovely everything was cared for. Our tour then took us to St. Isaac's Cathedral. This is yet another cathedral located in the center of St. Petersburg. This massive building allowed for thousands to be able to enter into it. Just like with all the other cathedrals we had seen, the beautiful reliefs and sculptures were just stunning. Once inside, you could see the gold work as well as the paintings on the ceiling. It was just vivid and lovely and gorgeous. The ceilings were outlaid in gold, telling a story. On display, a story of the ascent of Jesus. And again, beautiful column work leading up to the rather opulent ceilings, again with all the paintings. Even the doors told a story. You could see at the top with the martyrs. The crowds would watch on hand as people would walk through the cathedral and look at all the different types of displays. While it was a little crammed, it was still beautiful, and I definitely recommend an opportunity to go and see this. Another location we went to was the Cathedral for St. Peter and Paul, which is located again in central St. Petersburg. This one is on display for several miles and is very noticeable with the gold minaret at the top. This actually lies right across from the St. Petersburg Mint, and this is the resting place for the Romanov family. Again, the displays on the side building done up in white and color, and each of the ceilings topped with gold. As mentioned, the St. Petersburg Mint right across the way. There was a little line to get in, but we managed to get our way in at one point. The color and the ambiance was done in a brilliant green that just reverberated off of the ceiling and the walls. Again, the opulence and beauty of this place was seen by not only the gold, but the chandeliers and the paintings on the ceiling. Every inch telling a story in 14 to 24 karat gold. On display, worshippers can view the altar at the front of the building. They could also wish their goodbyes to Peter the Great, Catherine the Great, or even Tsar Nicholas and his family. Again, displays of prayers for the fallen members of the Romanov family that were assassinated in the late 1919, early 1920 era. We then finished up our time in St. Petersburg for the day and then made our way back. On the way, we did shop for a little shopping and noticed some wonderful selections of amber, as well as a unique, distinctive variety of vodka. Our tour included a lunch, which was a beautiful salad, along with a variety of different breads. As was mentioned earlier, we got our choice of vodka or champagne. There was a lovely mushroom soup that was being offered as well. And of course, some vanilla ice cream with some strawberry sauce on top. I really do appreciate you taking the time to view this video. Please give it a like. And if you haven't done so already, you're welcome to subscribe. You can also click the bell in order to be reminded when new videos post. You can also find me at The Professor Travel on Facebook and Instagram, or you can find me at The Professor TR1 at Twitter. Until next time, do svidaniya.